Well, hello and welcome back to the Finding Freedom podcast. So excited that you're here with me today for another episode. If you missed last week's episode on how to set goals with God, it's really important that you pause this episode here, go back to that episode. It was a very short episode. I think it was like 12 minutes long. Listen to that so you can learn how to set goals with God. The 3 things that I taught will help you to know that it is from God. And then at the end of the episode, I gave you some homework to bring to this episode so that you can really put some action behind what it is that we're doing today, because we talked about how to set goals last week. So this week we're going to talk about how to actually achieve the goals that you're setting, because God is not a magic genie who you just say, yep, this is my goal and God gave it to me, so now it's going to happen. We have to show up and we have to do the work. And so today's episode is going to be a very practical episode where I'm going to give you some steps to start breaking down your goals, to really put some action behind the things that you know that God has called you to do. So go back to last week's episode 99, listen to that one. And this is episode 100 of the Finding Freedom podcast, which is so cool. Goal setting is one of my favorite topics. I think all the topics are always my favorite. You guys probably are like, Brooke, everything's your favorite. That's kind of annoying that you say that. Well, I'm sorry if it annoys you, but it's all my favorite. That's why I talk about it. So episode 100, setting a goal. 100 episodes is a goal that I had. I wanted to continue to record this podcast and to help other women grow in their walk with God, help them with their time management, help them to set up routines, go deeper in their Bible study. That's what we're doing here on the Finding Freedom podcast. And so I'm just really excited to be here for episode 100. It has been quite a journey, and I'm just so grateful for those of you who have been with me from the beginning. What a gift. And for those of you who are new, thank you for coming and being here. And I hope that you'll stick around and stay with us until we get to 200 episodes and so on and so forth. So if you've been loving this podcast, please do me a favor and leave a rating and review. It will really help me to just be encouraged to know that there are people actually out there listening to me. Sometimes I'm talking to my phone and as I'm recording this, and I'm like, does anybody really listen to these? Obviously, I know that you do because I can see the stats behind the scenes, but I would just love to know what you love about the podcast, how it's helped you, those kinds of things. Let's celebrate episode 100 together with you leaving a rating or review. You can go to Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the bottom, and at the bottom it says write a review. You write that review and then it'll be posted to the review pages, and then maybe I'll do a little giveaway in the new year. It is December 31st when this episode is airing, so I think we'll do that. We'll do a little giveaway in January for anybody who leaves a review before the end of the year. So if it's December 31st, you need to leave a review today so that you can be entered into the giveaway. I think that would be really fun. And if you're listening to this after December 31st, maybe you should just do the review too, and maybe I'll do a January giveaway. So anyways, that wasn't planned, not a part of my notes at all for this episode, but we're just going to go with it. So thank you for those of you who do leave a review. It really does help me, and it helps the podcast get out to other people. So let's dive into today's episode. So today's episode is, again, how to achieve the actual goals that we set. So we wrote down the goal and we said, this is what we feel God has asked us to do in these 6 areas: personal, spiritual, financial, relational, professional, and health. Those are the 6 areas. And so hopefully you have those goals written down and you are ready to now dive into how to achieve those goals. So the verse that I wanted to share with us today is Proverbs 24:27, and it says, prepare your work, get everything ready for yourself, and after that, build your house. I love this verse because we're doing the work right now in this episode. In the last couple episodes, we're preparing the work. We're preparing ourselves for the new year that's coming. 2025 is tomorrow. So we are preparing ourselves for the new year, for what God is calling us to do in 2025. We're getting everything ready by planning things out, by getting strategic, by breaking things down step by step like we're going to do today. And then after that, we get to go out and build our house. We get to wake up tomorrow on January 1st, 2025, to build the house, to build the dream, to build the vision that God has given us for the year in these different areas. And I think that that is just so exciting. It's such a refreshing feeling. I want you to right now let go of whatever happened in the past. Let go of every goal that you've ever failed at. Let go of every goal that you worked really hard at and you feel like you should have achieved but didn't. Let it all go, surrender it to God, and today we're moving forward. Today we're going to start fresh. We're going to let all of that past go, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to dream big, and we're going to let God tell us where he's taking us in 2025, and then we're going to put some action behind it, okay? I hope you're ready. So step number one to actually achieving the goal is to make sure that you have set what we call SMART goals. And you may or may not have heard this. This is not a term that I've created. It's SMART. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So you want to make sure that the goal is something specific. So you don't want to say, I want to lose weight. No, I want to lose 20 pounds by the end of 2025. So that also makes it measurable because it's specific. You want to lose 20 pounds, measurable in the fact that there's a time attached to it. So you know that you can, measurable is more, you can measure it by saying, yes, I lost 20 pounds, or no, I didn't lose 20 pounds. Achievable is I'm not telling myself that I'm going to lose 200 pounds in 1 year because that may or may not be possible. Probably not. And then relevant is like, is this something that actually pertains to my life and I want to achieve? Did God really give this to me? And then time bound is the end of the year. You set that goal for the end of the year. So SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So I have an example for each of these goals. You can use this example if you haven't set goals, or if you've been like, I don't really know what goal to set in these different areas. These are some examples in the next, like I have in these 6 areas of goals that you might set. And you don't have to use these. These are not my personal goals. These are just ideas that I came up with. So the first one, for the spiritual goal, maybe your spiritual goal for 2025 is to read the Bible in a year. Maybe a personal goal is to read 12 fiction books, 12 books that you enjoy, or 12 nonfiction. It could be whatever, but you want to read 12 books. Maybe a relational goal is to have deeper in-person friendships, or to have a better relationship with your spouse, or to, something like that. More time with your kids, those kinds of things. Health goal, lose 50 pounds. Professional goal, better work-life balance. Financial, add 5,000 in savings. And so you'll notice that with the relational and the professional goals, it's hard to set those goals that are so specific and so measurable, because you may not be able to really specifically say how that's going to work. So like, I want to build in-person deep friendships. Well, there's not really like a measure for that other than like, I have deep friendships or I don't have deep friendships. So I guess it's measurable, and it's specific in the fact that you want to have really good friends that you can go deep with in life. But the achievable part is hard because, you can't really control whether or not somebody else reciprocates the effort that you put into the friendship. So some of them will not meet every area of that SMART goal. But again, you just kind of go with it and have your specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound as close as possible to those things. So now that we have our step one, which is the SMART goals, the actual goal that we've set for 2025 to achieve by December 31st of 2025, 1 year from now, now let's go into step two. A real quick note for anybody who is using the 2025 Finding Freedom Yearly Planner, I am personally writing down my goals for the year in my 2025 At a Glance page at the very beginning of the planner under the Getting Started tab. It's one of the second to last pages. And what you're going to do is write down each of those areas of goals for the end of the year for December. So you're going to go down to December and you're going to write down what each of those goals are. Now, the 2025 At a Glance, you can put other things in there, of course, as well. You can start mapping out vacations or birthdays or spending goals, savings, those kinds of things. You can use this for whatever you want, but this is where I'm going to personally write down my goals for 2025 that I want to achieve. I'm going to go to December and I'm going to write out what each of my goals are so that throughout the month, I can kind of come back and look at that and measure it. So now getting into step two is to take that goal and to break it down into a quarterly goal. And that's where this 2025 At a Glance is really going to come in handy, because it's broken down by quarter. So you have quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. So you know that your goal for quarter 4 at the end of 2025 is to lose 50 pounds. So we're going to break that goal down into a quarterly goal so that by September 30th, you know what your goal is. By June 30th, you know what your goal is. And by March 31st, you know what your goal is. And so you're going to have these goals written down at the bottom of each quarter so that you kind of have an idea of how this is going to work. So you're breaking it down on this page, And then we're going to bring it into our monthly part. So we're going to start with quarterly at first. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I wanted to make sure if you have this planner, or if you don't have it and you're looking for a planner still for 2025, the Finding Freedom Yearly Planner, you can get this at thefindingfreedomco.com/shop. It's a beautiful cover, hardcover planner with some beautiful tabs and lots of goodies inside of it. I've shared lots about it on the podcast, and there's also videos of it on my social media. So be sure to check it out and purchase one if you're still looking for your 2025 planner. But this is where I am personally going to be breaking down everything that I'm sharing in this episode at the bottom of each quarter for this step 2 that we're getting into. So step 2 is to break down the goals that we set for the year into quarterly goals. So for example, again, I said this episode is going to be very practical. So for our spiritual goal, we set the goal to read the Bible in a year. So there's 66 books in the Bible, and there's 4 quarters in a year. We're setting this as a quarterly goal. So that means that every quarter we want to read 16 to 17 books in the Bible. So you're going to write down September 30th, you want to have read, we'll start in March. March 31st, you want to have read 16 books of the Bible, March of 2025. By June of 2025, you want to have read 32 books of the Bible. By September of 2025, you want to have read 48 books of the Bible. And then by December of 2025, you want to have read 66 books of the Bible. That will be your Bible in a year plan. Your next goal, personal goal. The personal goal was to read 12 books in a year. So if you have 12 books and there's 4 quarters, 12 divided by 4 is 3 books a quarter. So March, you're going to have 3 books. June, you're going to have 6 books. September, 9 books. And December, 12 books. Again, you can change these numbers however you want. The goal is going to be whatever goals you wrote down. I'm just giving examples. Your relational goal for deeper in-person friendships. You want to, maybe for the first quarter, you want to break this down. You can't necessarily plan this out for the whole year, I would say, for this specific goal. Like I said, some of these goals are going to be a little bit different. But for your relational goal, you want to have deeper in-person friendships by the end of the year. So maybe for quarter 1, your first goal is to find 1 to 2 women that you really connect well with and want to grow deeper with. So in March for 2025, that would be your goal for that first quarter, to have 1 or 2 women that you really are pursuing a deep connection or deep friendship with. So that would be for your March goal. If your health goal is to lose 50 pounds, 50 pounds divided by 4 quarters is going to be 12.5 pounds per quarter. So for March, you're going to have a goal of I've lost 12.5 pounds by March 31st. By June, it's going to be 25 pounds. By September, it's going to be 38 pounds. And then by December, it's your 50-pound goal mark. And so you're taking that big goal and you're breaking it down, and then you're focusing on 1 quarter at a time. The next goal is your professional goal. You want to have a better work-life balance. Maybe that's been a struggle for you and you're working too many hours and you feel like you're not spending enough time with your family or your loved ones. You want to have a better work-life balance. Well, maybe by the end of quarter 1, you want to have a boundary set. You want to work X amount of hours, or you want to spend X amount of time with your family. That will look like whatever it looks like for you specifically. I can't give specifics on that, but you break down that goal and ask yourself, what does 1 quarter of working on this goal look like? If I want to, at the end of the year, say I have a great work-life balance, what is step 1 for quarter 1 that I want to work on? And then for a financial goal, say you want to put $5,000 in savings for the year. 5,000 divided by 4 months means that every quarter you're saving around $1,200 a quarter, $1,250 per quarter. So March 31st, you want to have $1,250 in savings. By June 30th, you want to have $2,500 in savings. By quarter 3 in September, you want to have not 7,500. You want to have, what is the math on that? I should have written this down. We had $1,250 to $2,500, so it would be like $3,700, $3,750 or something. And then in December, it would be $5,000. And so you break down those goals and you say, okay, I have this really big goal that feels really hard to achieve. Break it down into those quarters. So that's an example of doing the quarterly goals. Now comes the really fun part. So now you're going to flip to the actual month that you're in your planner. And in the Finding Freedom Planner, we have a monthly goal spread, a monthly goal page that you're going to use each month. So you're going to have an end of month goal reflection. that you're going to go over how did it go? How did I work on my goals last month? Did I accomplish the goal? Did I not? How can I improve? You're going to rate yourself over the last month on your focus, your reliance on Christ, your effort towards your goals, your mood, your energy, your excitement. You're going to surrender everything to God and let it go. You're going to write out that prayer, and then you're going to go into the new month. So for us here in January, we're going into the January goals, and you have each box has each of the 6 areas that we're talking about. So you have your quarterly goal that we just wrote down on that 2025 at a glance spread. So now you have a goal that you need to break down even further, because there's 3 months in a quarter. So you don't want to just have your goal for March and say, oh, well, I have until March to achieve it, because what's going to happen is you're going to get to March and you're not going to have worked on it at all. And then you're going to be like, well, this will never happen now because I haven't even worked on it. So I might as well just drop that goal, and you're going to quit and you're not going to achieve the goal that you set. Instead, you're going to take that quarterly goal and you're going to break it down into a monthly goal. So this process is a little bit of work up front with setting the goals, which you've already done. Next step is going to be set your quarterly goals. So break those down into quarterly goals. And then before the year starts, or as the year starts, as we get into 2025, you're going to set your January goals. And so this is a monthly process that you're going to do from here. Once you have the yearly goal and the quarterly goal, the monthly process is simple, and it's just something you address the last day of every month, or the end of each month, or the beginning, whatever that looks like for you. I try to do like the last Friday of each month. I'll start working on my goal spreadsheet to kind of get things going so that I know where I'm heading into in the next month. So if we're going to go through each of the goals again. So if our spiritual goal is to read the Bible in a year, and we know in each quarter we need to read 16 books to start to get towards that goal of the full Bible in a year, that means we need to read 4 books of the Bible per month. So you're going to write under your spiritual goal 4 books of the Bible. Maybe you even put the specifics of I want to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or whatever, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. You put the goal of what you want to achieve at the top there. We'll get to the next part after that. So then maybe your personal goal again, read 12 books in a year, which means that you need to read 3 books each quarter, which means there's 3 months in a quarter. So you read 1 book a month. So you put the book that you want to read right there. Boom. That's your goal. See how it's starting to get a little bit easier. So now you're only doing 3 books of the Bible, or 4 books of the Bible, 1 book a month. Your relational goal is to build deeper in-person friendships. So maybe you want to have a get-together each quarter with your friends. So you have a coffee date that you need to schedule for the first month. So maybe by March, you want to have 3 separate coffee dates that you've set with your friends. So for the goal for this month, it's going to be 1 coffee date. And then you just have to have the 1. And then in February, you worry about the 2nd. And in March, you worry about the 3rd. For your health goal, you have the goal of losing 50 pounds. So if you want to lose 50 pounds, that's 12.5 pounds per quarter, 3 pounds per month. Does that not feel way more achievable than 50 pounds? You're only focusing on the 3 pounds. Your professional goal is to have a better work-life balance. So you want to set work hours. So maybe your goal this month is to set better work hours, and we'll get into the action steps. I want to get ahead of myself so bad. So your goal for this month is to set your actual work hours and stick with them. And then your financial goal of $5,000 a year. So you know that you need to have $1,250 per quarter. Divide that down to the 3 months per quarter. That's around $415 per month. So your goal for financial this month is to put $415 into savings. So do you see how those goals felt really big in the beginning? You had that really big goal of $5,000 in savings, and you're like, that feels like a lot. How is that going to happen? $400 a month. That's it. We're going to break it down even further, by the way. So now you have your goals for the month, and what you might notice underneath your goal is action steps. So we're going to take the goal that we set, and we're going to have 4 action steps because there's 4 weeks in a month, and we're going to break down our goals into weekly goals, weekly things that we're achieving, so that we have the goals that we're setting at the forefront of our mind every single week so that we can achieve them week by week. We have 52 weeks in a year to achieve the goals that we set. If we have one small goal each week that helps us get to the monthly goal, that helps us get to the quarterly goal, that will eventually help us to get to the yearly goal so that your goal can be achieved. So I hope this is making sense for you. All right, I hope you're still with me. We are going to go even further now. So we have our monthly goals and we're going to break them down into the action steps. So this is step 4. Again, this is not a process that you do every single day or every single month. You do the hard work of setting the yearly goals, breaking them down into quarterly goals, and then every month you're doing this process. But this process here, when it says smaller goal, it's a lot more achievable and you feel so excited going into your month because you have an actual plan to achieve your goals. So we have our monthly goals, and I'm going to break each of the goals that we've talked about already down into some examples of what I would have as weekly action steps to help you get closer to the goal. So buckle up. So our first goal is read the Bible in a year. So we have 66 books. We broke it down to 16 per quarter, 4 books per month. So action step for week number 1. For January, you need to read 4 books of the Bible. So you already wrote down the 4 books that you want to read. So action step 1, choose Bible reading plan. Boom, you already did it because you just wrote down the goal, and the goal tells you which books you're going to read. So you've already done 2 things in one. The second week might be to read X amount of chapters. So you look over those books and you say, okay, this book has 15 chapters. This book has 12 chapters, and so on and so forth. And so you break down how many chapters you have to read to get those 4 books done. And those are your weekly goals. So weekly goal 1 is to read 12 chapters. Action step number 2 for that goal is going to be to read 12 more chapters. And so each week you just have one action step that's going to get you a little bit closer to reading those 4 books a month. For your personal goal, you want to read 12 books a month, or 12 books a month, 12 books a year, which equates to 1 book per month. There's 12 months in a year, so 1 book per month. So if you want to read 1 book per month, the first step is going to be to choose the book that you want to read. So what book do you want to read? You put that in the goal there. And then your action step is how many chapters are in the book. Divide that up by the month. So there's 4 weeks in a month. So if the book has 12 chapters in it, there's 4 weeks in a month. You have to read 3 chapters a week. Not have to. That's a personal goal. You want that one to be fun. You get to read 3 chapters per week. So that's your personal goals. So you've already broken it down. Your action steps are very simple. You're just putting in read chapters 1 through 3, read chapters 4 through 6, 7 through 9, 10 through 12. Boom. Your goal is starting to be achieved. For January, you've achieved the goal. Or you have a plan to achieve the goal. Now you just have to execute it, which we'll talk about at the end. Your next one, deeper in-person friendships. So you want to have 3 get-togethers with ladies, which I think was different from the original quarterly goal I gave you, which was to have people that you want to speak with. So again, change it up, make it what it will be for you. But say you want to have 3 get-togethers per quarter. That's 1 per month with a friend that you are wanting to have a deeper relationship with. So action step for week number 1 under your relational goal is going to be to text the person that you want to have coffee with and establish some sort of relationship. Like, hey, this year I'm really working on building better in-person friendships and I would love to get to know you more. And then that's just opening the door. It may feel a little bit awkward, get the awkwardness out of the way and move on with it. Action step number 2 is to maybe schedule your coffee date for that month. So when do you want to have coffee? You schedule it for the following week. The following week's action step will be go on a coffee date. So you have your coffee date with your friend. And it's not to make your friendship like a check off the block thing, but if that's really a goal for you, you want to establish that. If it's a goal of, 12 date nights a year with my spouse or, one-on-one time with my children each month, you can do the same thing for your action steps here. You break it down of, okay, for this month, we need to have a date night. So where are we going to go? And then week 1 is plan the date night or pick a date. Week 2 is plan where we're going to go. Week 3 is go on it. Week 4 is whatever you want that to be. Check in and just have some time to ask your spouse how the date was and start getting ready for your next date, those kinds of things. So we're just going to stick with the in-person friendship one because it's easier, but I wanted to give you an example of a different one. So with your friendship, you action step week 1, establish the relationship. Week 2, you text and ask them if they can go for coffee next week. Week 3, go for coffee. Week 4, text them to check in and just continue to build that friendship over a text message or a phone call or whatever's easier for you. So your action steps to building those deeper in-person relationships with your friends are starting to be achieved week by week, little action by little action. Your health goal. So our goal that we set was to lose 50 pounds this year, which means that we need to lose 12 to 13 pounds per quarter, which means 3 to 4 pounds per month. So your goal for January, lose 3 or 4 pounds. We'll just say 4 pounds and start off the month strong, right? So lose 4 pounds. So action step number 1 for that week might be pick a workout plan. If you want to lose weight, you need to have a good workout plan, a good nutrition plan. You need to drink more water. So start to think about what are some things that I need to do to lose that weight. Hire a nutrition coach, hire a personal trainer, those kinds of things. So those are going to be your action steps for month 1. So if your goal is lose 3 or 4 pounds, list out some things that you can do to lose 3 or 4 pounds. So the ones that I wrote down were pick a workout plan to follow. Week 2, pick a nutrition plan to follow. Week 3, drink 100 ounces of water every day this week. Week 4, weigh and measure my progress so far and plan and adjust as needed. Keep it simple. Your professional goal of better work-life balance. So your quarterly goal was to set work hours. And so for your monthly goal, it might be to communicate those work hours with your boss, your team, your clients, whatever. So for step 1, you need to know what the work hours are going to be. And you may not know that yet. You don't know how long it takes you to do your work each month or each week. So maybe your first action step is to track your business tasks or your work tasks for that week and ask yourself, track how long it takes you to do those things so that you have some data to work with. Then action step week 2 would be to create a plan to fulfill those tasks within certain time periods. Week 3 might be to delegate tasks that you just cannot fit into your schedule, to let things go. And then week 4 would be to communicate those new hours to your boss. That was your goal for the month, so you achieve it in week 4 after you've done the 3 action steps. Your financial goal for the month is for the year was to add $5,000 in savings, which means that you need to have $1,250 per quarter, which is around $415 per month. So step 1 action step would be to write out your current spending and income. Go through your bank statements and ask yourself where you're at. How much do you earn? How much are you spending? Where can you find some extra money that you don't need to be spending to start putting it into savings? Step 2 would be to take $150 from somewhere. Don't spend it on Amazon or coffee or whatever you spend it on, and put it into savings. And then week 3 would be put another $150 into savings. Week 4, $150 into savings, and make it a weekly thing so that it's not July or January 31st and you're like, oh, I need to put $400 in savings, but it's not there because I didn't plan for it. Plan for it. $150 a week. And if that's too big of a goal, if that's too much, then drop the goal down. You have to realize, okay, that goal's not attainable. I don't have $150 a week. Well, then drop your yearly goal down a little bit to where your weekly goal is achievable. Obviously, you can stretch yourself a little bit, but don't stretch yourself so much that you can't live too. So be mindful of that. So now you have those large goals that you wrote down that felt a little bit too big, where you're like, God, I don't know how this is going to happen. And you've broken it down to what you need to do this week, January 1st to January 7th, or whatever the week is. I know it's a little bit off. This week, what am I doing to get me one step closer to my goal that I want to be at by December 31st of 2025? So it feels a lot less overwhelming and more like, oh, okay, I could do that. I could text somebody and say, let's have coffee. I can set a budget. I can read 3 chapters of a book. I can read X amount of pages in my Bible. I can, hire a personal trainer. Those things are so simple to do, and it's just a simple task. And then if you're like, well, I don't know how to fit those tasks in. Well, that's good news for you is on episode 98 of this podcast, I talked about how to take those weekly action steps and plug them into your schedule. So I did a step-by-step how I schedule out my week using the Finding Freedom Planner. You can use any planner, obviously, but every single week, how I plan out my weeks and how I put the action steps for my goals right into my weekly plan so that I could fit time in to achieve the goals that I'm setting, because we're not setting goals and saying, okay, well, this is what I need to do. And then it's Sunday night and you're like, oh, I didn't do it. You have a plan for it. You're going into the week and you already know that on Tuesday, you're going to put the deposit in your bank for $150, or on Friday, you're going to call a personal trainer and hire them. Or when you're doing those action steps, it's planned into your week, pre-planned. So there's no thinking about it. You've already scheduled it, and you just have to actually execute it, actually do it. So I hope that this episode has encouraged you. I hope that you will really take the time to sit down, to not let this process overwhelm you. If it feels overwhelming, I highly, highly, highly encourage, and I don't say this because I created the planner. I created this planner with these things in mind because these are things that I do to achieve the goals that I achieve, to get to where I've gotten to in life. And that's not to say I've made it and here I am, I just know it all. These tools work. Women in all of my groups, in all of my coaching, and all of the things that I've done, my mentorships, women love these tools because they actually have helped them. And so if you're somebody who's overwhelmed and you've listened to this episode and you're like, I just don't know if I could do that, the planner is a great place to start because you can see it visually. You could open it up and visually see what your goals are for the year, what your goals are for the quarter, what your goals are for the month, and then what the action step is, all the way to what's my plan for this week. And so that's why these last few episodes of this year have been geared towards how to use this planner, because if you're somebody who is overwhelmed and defeated and feels like you can't do the things that you want to do, you just have to have a plan for it. You just have to make a plan. And this planner is designed to help the busy Christian woman make more time for God, better manage her time, achieve the goals that God is placing in her heart, and keep her family and Christ first in all of that. And so if that's you, I encourage you to go to thefindingfreedomco.com/shop. Click on the yearly planner option, that's this one, and you will get started. I cannot wait to hear what you think. I know that it will be a great tool for you to use in 2025, so I encourage you to please go check it out at least. And then next week, we're going to talk about the daily, weekly, and monthly reflections. So we talked about goal setting, and then I'm going to talk to you about at the end of each month how I do my reflection process with, did I achieve the goals? Did I not? Did I achieve the action steps, or did I do the action steps? Did I not? Getting honest with yourself, getting honest with God, surrendering it back to Him. We're going to go all into that. We're going to go into weekly reflections and how I use my quarterly planner or my quarterly journal to really spend some time each week to center my heart and mind on God as I go into a new week. And how I also use this to do my morning reflections with God and really just center my heart and mind on Him for the day. And so if those are things that you're interested in, these are tools that you can use to do these things, but you don't have to have these tools. So I don't want you to not listen if you're like, I don't want to buy your products. That's okay. I'm sharing the tips and the tools that I use, and you can take the ideas and just do what you want with it. So thank you for being here. I'm so excited, and I cannot believe that we just finished episode 100. Yay! So go make sure that you leave that rating and review if you've been loving these episodes. If you have questions, you can always reach out to me. My email is always down in the show notes, so you can send me an email. And you can reach out to me on social media as well. I'm always hanging out over there in my stories. So thank you for being here. Thank you for an incredible year as a company, the Finding Freedom Co. official company. 2025 launch has gone so well, and we have so many, 2025 launch, and we have so many exciting things planned for 2025. So I hope that you'll stay tuned for all of those. And I just thank you for being here. This is such a gift to me, and I don't take any of it lightly. I am here to serve you, and I am praying for you regularly. And I am so excited for the work that God is doing here. And I'm so grateful that I get to be a part of it, that He is using me in the way that He is. And I pray that it's just an encouragement to you. So thank you again for being here. I hope you have the best day, and I will see you next year. Is that a little bit too cheesy? We're just going to go for it. I already did it. We're sticking with it. That's my favorite joke at the end of the year. I'm not somebody that has a bunch of jokes. If my husband listens, he's going to make fun of me, but that's okay. I'll see you next year. I'll talk to you next year. I cannot wait to dive into 2025 and all that we have in store, all that God has in store with you, alongside of you. So have a great day. Happy New Year, and I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.